Welcome to Monologues by Hassie, where I'm going to be dropping unsolicited brain dumps from the depths of my grey matter. I'll talk about life, money, society, and self-development, plus whatever else lies up there, whilst hopefully not getting cancelled in the process. This week, I achieved a milestone in that I've been meditating consistently for 100 days. And I'm somebody who's done a lot of meditation. I've spoken about it on this particular podcast. You can find my episodes on Vipassana, which, for those of you who don't know, is well known as being the 10-day silent meditation retreat, where they take all your technology and wallets and attachments to the world away from you and basically put you in an environment where you can't talk to anyone and just have to meditate like a full-time job for about 10 days. And despite having done all of these things in the past, one of the things that I've always struggled with was integrating the practice of meditation into my day-to-day. When I've typically come off these big meditation retreats, of course, they are incredibly amazing, and I highly recommend them for everyone because you will have many personal breakthroughs. In the days leading, having left a 10-day silent meditation retreat, I'm often very good. But eventually, the day-to-day challenges and stresses and demands of day life kind of take over, and I forget to do these good habits. First you skip one day and it becomes 2 days, and then it becomes 3, and the next thing you know, you've gone a few months without meditating. And that is not particularly great, especially when you're somebody who has seen the real life benefits of actually being able to sit down and focus your mind's attention, your mind's eye, on what is happening in your body and how you are reacting to the stimuli that the world is giving you. And when you are able to observe yourself at such a level, you begin to be able to deal with these day-to-day situations in a way that you previously did not. And when I say in a way you previously did not, you deal with the day-to-day challenges that arise, and even challenges that are far, far worse, with a type of grace in a much, much better way than you typically would have. And one thing I'd learned from my last meditation course was probably the big reason why I failed was trying to be too perfect with the idea that I should meditate for 2 hours every day in the outside world. Now, this is something that when you do Vipassana, they will actually tell you that in the lay world, when you leave the course, when you leave the very regimented environment of a 10-day silent meditation retreat, that you should go out into the real world and you should meditate 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour at night or in the evening. And for me, I think by trying to do this goal, by trying to do this 2 hours, every time I did not get there or did not think I could do 2 hours, I simply wouldn't. And therefore, I would lose the habit of meditating on a regular basis. And when I did my second course, one of the questions that I asked them, because even though it's a silent retreat, there is maybe an interval of 1 hour where students can go and speak to a teacher, and they can ask the teachers about their concerns regarding their meditation practice. And my question was not how do you meditate, but when I leave this really sterile environment where all we do is nothing but meditate, how can I actually maintain this habit in the real world? Because I struggled with this last time. And what they actually told me was, yes, S.N. Goenka, the man who propagated the mainstream Vipassana course that many people know of in the West, even though he says you should do 2 hours, don't feel like you religiously need to do 2 hours, and it might look very different for you. And I think I left that last 10-day course in November with a much better idea of how to incorporate meditation in day-to-day life. And there was a study that I came across by a team at New York University, I believe, which I will link in the show notes, that said that for people who don't meditate, then the minimum effective dose is actually just 15 minutes per day. So it's not 2 hours per day, it's 15 minutes per day. And if you do 15 minutes per day of meditation, and I think the general technique is just breathing, right? To focus on your breath. Whereas the Vipassana technique is a body scan. So you're scanning your body and scanning the sensations. But if you meditate for 15 minutes every single day, for 8 weeks, that is the minimum effective dose of meditation to have positive impacts on your mental health and your ability to deal with challenges in the real world. So minimum effective doses are something, when I studied pharmacology, it is how little of a drug or a therapy do you need for something to actually have an effect. And it's really important to know this because this is kind of where we need to start people off, and it's a really good level to achieve some sort of positive or desired outcome. So for meditation, the answer happens to be do 15 minutes every day for at least 8 weeks. And because of my decision to leave my job and start playing around with different projects and building my own software, one of the first things I did when I started working on my own projects was to build an Android meditation app called IlluminateMe.app. And I think part of the reason of being the person who created the product, I almost felt like I owe it to the people who use IlluminateMe.app and the people who are going to use IlluminateMe.app to be the person who actually uses it and tests it and finds all the bugs. So inevitably, by doing my own work as a software engineer and trying to create products this year, I have been meditating consistently for the past 100 days, which I hit this week. And it's actually quite incredible because I can definitely see how, even though the results are not as dramatic as me having done a 10-day meditation retreat, I think when I come out of those 10-day meditation retreats, I'm absolutely zen. I feel like I'm Teflon. People can throw whatever shit they want at me and it will come off my back. And it's not quite like that. But considering that I'm dealing with challenges and expectations not being met and things going wrong and unexpected things popping up, the fact that I am feeling the way that I feel and I'm having a much more positive and moderated and neutral outlook on things and being able to work through things is an absolutely incredible feeling, considering that it's only costing me 15 minutes per day. And the way that I set up my own application is really nice in that I do my 15 minutes and I get a quote from the Buddha after every meditation. So I've almost microdosed a little bit of meditation, so I'm getting my minimum effective dose. I've microdosed a little bit of wisdom, and what I have is a really nice spiritual package. Now, naturally, I found a lot of bugs, and I know there's many things in that Android application that I need to fix before I push it to more users and can hopefully help other people get the same benefits that I did. But nonetheless, even by using this application and by meditating for 100 days, I've been able to achieve a fraction of the Zen that I normally get from one of those 10-day meditation retreats, which, as I say, I always recommend that people do these things. So I definitely think that I've helped achieve my own personal goal of how do I incorporate meditation into my day-to-day? And the answer is add a bit of gamification. Make myself feel like I need to maintain a streak. Make myself feel like I'm earning the words of the Buddha, the spirituality, the wisdom that the Buddha uncovered over 2,500 years ago. So I've turned it into a game, and I'm somebody who knows that I respond very well to these things. And so my general routine is that I do this 15 minutes. I typically focus on my body. So I do Vipassana, I scan my body, I look for the sensations in my body. And at the end of every session, I will do something called Metta meditation or loving kindness meditation. And what I'm doing is I'm basically transferring some goodwill first to myself, then to my parents, then to my teachers, then to my brothers and sisters, then to my friends and family, and then to all living beings. And so it's a really nice way, and I think in combination with a few of the other things I do, like finding something small to be grateful for every day, it has led to tremendous changes. And let me tell you about one of the situations that I actually had last week, where I was taking my train from Toronto in Canada to New York, USA, and what happened was I was extremely tired. I just had my cousin's graduation the night before. I had 2 late nights in a row, and I was being a little bit dopey, and I get out at Niagara Falls, United States, go through customs, and I heard an announcement that said, feel free to get off the train. There are some food trucks, food stalls outside. Go outside. So I went outside. I didn't buy anything, but I just ate my own lunch. And I saw a lady rushing back. And I remember on the train, they said they'd make an announcement when it was time to get back on and continue to New York. And so I see this lady rushing back. I very casually decide to follow her because I can see she looks quite stressed out. And I say, it's probably time to go back. So I get my bags, I pack up my lunch, and I head back towards the train. But it turns out that the train, mind you, the only train heading to New York from Niagara Falls, USA, has already left the station. So I've exited customs in the United States, and I've missed my train. So what do? Very calmly, I message my friend and I say, hey, I'm meant to be coming tonight, but I've just missed my train. I might not actually arrive till tomorrow. Because I figured you're probably going to have to get on the next train, the train that leaves Toronto tomorrow. and that heads to New York, that's the one you're going to have to get on if you want to get to New York City. And I remember there being 2 other families with me, at least, who missed their train. There may have been more who were simply unaware at the time, but there were 2 other families who were also in the same position. And the man at the train station said, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to call you a taxi, and you can take a taxi to the next station. And if you're lucky, the train will still be there when you get there. So the whole rationale was we missed the train, we've been ordered these taxis, and obviously they're charging us through the nose, so it's $88 for a 30-minute taxi ride from Niagara Falls, USA, New York, to Depew, New York, which is just outside of Buffalo. And this is going to be a very expensive ride, and it's potentially a stressful ride because you're always focused on this train that you're meant to catch up with. Otherwise, you've not now just spent an extra almost $100, and you've spent time only to be stuck in another city. And what I noticed was that the other people who were there were incredibly stressed out, whereas for me, I was able to glide through that day. I had already meditated that morning on the train. I simply had the mentality that whatever happens, happens. Of course, it's unfortunate that I now need to spend all this money. I literally had some cash on me, and all that cash went towards this taxi ride. But I said, enjoy it for what it is. So I had a great conversation with the taxi driver. I pretty much had no expectations of me getting to the train station and the train actually being there. But lo and behold, I had this great ride. I didn't particularly stress out. I got to the train station and I saw the train there. It was still there. It happened to be boarding more passengers. So I was able to get back on my train. So I literally caught a taxi to chase the train. But rather than stressing out during that journey, I was able to enjoy speaking to the taxi driver who was telling me about her hopes and dreams for life and how things had gone to plan and hadn't gone to plan. And it's always interesting speaking to people. This is somebody that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to interact with. There's somebody who was very different to the types of people who live in big cities like New York and Toronto. This is somebody who lives in the small town of Niagara, USA, who has spent a vast majority of their lives living there. And it was really great to hear about their lives, even though that parts of their story was sad. It was nice to have a real conversation with somebody, rather than being perpetually stressed out about my own goal of, am I going to make my train? And I did make my train. And I think when I look at what are the benefits of meditation, it's that there is a version of me who does not meditate, who is incredibly stressed in that situation, and it doesn't actually make a difference because the train is already gone. The train has already left Niagara Falls, United States. Nothing you stress about is going to change that. And by incorporating the small habit of mindfulness and meditation into my day-to-day, I've definitely been able to cultivate a fraction of that Zen, and it's still not perfect. It is still not perfect. There are some times when a thought gets stuck to my mind and it means that I don't sleep particularly well. But there have been many situations where somebody's told me something that's really bad news and they're stressing about it, and I've been able to say, that's okay, just try your best next time. Why? Because it's already been done. By meditating on a regular basis, by meditating consistently for the past 100 days, even in blocks as small as 15 minutes, I've done it at least 15 minutes every day. In my app, I've been asked, why do you not have a block of time less than 15 minutes? As I told you, it's because I based that time limit on a New York Times study that says that 15 minutes is the minimum effective dose for meditation. And it's something that has definitely improved the way that I work, that I navigate with the technical challenges I face, that the way I navigate with the people and the situations I encounter. It has definitely made things better, and I'm looking forward to seeing how I continue to evolve as I continue to meditate consistently. And maybe this is how I actually get to the level of where I am incorporating 2 hours of meditation per day. And potentially by that point, I'm going to be a far more effective being with far more leverage, and that meditation is going to have far more benefit both to myself and to everyone around me. But I realize by trying to achieve that very lofty goal, I'm probably jeopardizing a slower and more steady path to being mindful. So I've definitely benefited from doing just 15 minutes of meditation every day, and I definitely think that everyone listening to this today, even if you don't want to go do a Vipassana meditation course that is going to take 10 days out of your life and put you in a completely silent room and you're not unable to speak to anybody from your normal world, whilst you may be unwilling to do that, you can benefit from small micro doses of meditation just to make sure you're doing at least 15 minutes per day. So I'm going to end this episode there. I'm wishing everybody listening to this great success on all your endeavors. You've just made it through another episode of Monologues by Hassie. It brings me great pleasure to know that you made it to the end. To listen to more episodes, subscribe on your favourite podcast app or visit monologuesbyhassie.com. Thanks for swinging by.